Giant Software announced a couple of days ago that they're setting up shop in Chicago, Illinois. It's the company's first studio outside of Europe, and it's a big step for them to spread the word about their game and to appease their American fan base. Before this move, the company had all of its studios in Switzerland, Germany, and the Czech Republic. According to Giant's CEO, they've made this move because a key factor of Farming Simulator's success is the strong relationship with the player and modding community as well as the farming industry. The regions around Chicago are a big farming hub, and they look forward to extending their local presence with talented people, which will give them more opportunities to be present at local video games and farming events, as well as community and support events in American time zones. At this point, you're probably wondering what I'm talking about and why you should care, which is the same response I've been met with every time I've tried to introduce Giant Software and their farming simulator to people over the past 8 years. The initial response is, "Are you serious? Farming simulator? Why would I play that?" But stay with me here. I first played a farm sim game back in 2012 upon the recommendation of my father of all people. He rarely, if ever, plays video games, so when he told me about this game he had been playing, I wasn't sure what to think. But after watching him play it for a while and checking out some YouTube videos, I decided it looked cool enough for me to at least give it a shot. A few hours later, I was completely hooked, and I spent every hour of every day playing the game for an entire week. That was the first round of my farming addiction, and it normally happens once or twice a year until this very day. Farm Sim isn't a joke, and I'm not lying to you when I tell you these games are actually really good. Last year, I was able to convince a few buddies of mine in the Crymore Discord to try out Farming Simulator 19, and thankfully they gave it a shot, because it wasn't long before they were hooked as well. We spent hours upon hours on our multiplayer farm, buying, selling, expanding, and doing what the game wants you to do, relaxing on the farm and forgetting about the world around you. While other games are about shooting, fighting, blowing stuff up, casting magic, or being the last person standing, Farm Sim is about harvesting a crop or feeding your animals. Relaxation is one of its larger selling points, but its addictive nature stems from an almost RPG-like gameplay loop. As the co-founder and CEO of Giants says, "The main reason why people continue playing is because of the game's RPG loop. You do the work, get more money, and use that to buy bigger, cooler machines and grow your farm." He hits the nail on the head, and Farm Sim does the same thing Stardew or Harvest Moon does, but it's in a completely different way. It feels more realistic, and everything is slower but somehow equally enjoyable. Buying new land or a new harvester or that tractor you've been eyeing provides an indescribable sense of accomplishment. The same sense of accomplishment you get when you finally upgrade your sprinklers or your axe in Stardew. It's the same concept, but Giant's goal is to provide that experience in a more realistic environment and, put simply, it works. So this is a video about the history of Giant Software and Farming Simulator. Giant Software started back in 2008 when Stephen Geiger and Christian Amon decided that there needed to be a farming game that realistically depicted what it means to be a farmer. They knew that people enjoyed farming games, but they wanted players to know what it felt like to drive a tractor or use actual equipment to make a living. They both had the benefit of growing up in the country, so they were familiar with agriculture, but they still needed to do research and reach out to people with more expertise than they had. They even took the time to take pictures of real-life farming equipment and dove through hours of online research on farm life. After a lot of work, they began working on their project. The end result was Farming Simulator 2008, which contained a small fraction of the world that their newest iteration offers. The equipment was all very generic and simple. There wasn't a lot of diversity, and you could only harvest one crop, wheat. They only had one real name brand in the game, and in general, it was about as basic as you could imagine. Surprisingly, the game still did very well in Europe upon release and sold over 150,000 copies on PC. This allowed Giants to expand their operation and hire new employees. While things in-house were going very well, they still had to figure out how to get more brand names on board. Fendt, a German manufacturer, was the only real company in the game, and with an emphasis on realism, Geiger and Amon had to figure out a way to get more companies on board. It was difficult for them when they were starting out because equipment manufacturers saw little to no value in adding their brand into the game. Geiger says that it was a tricky thing to convince them that they weren't part of a regular toy company because they all pay those manufacturers for the brand name. But that wouldn't have been possible for them to pay every brand they had, even if it was just a small percentage of their revenue. They weren't able to attract anyone in their early months, but thankfully that changed over time as the games grew in popularity. Eventually, those same companies realized the marketing value that FarmSim offered and they decided to play ball. It's quite easy to tell, too. This past year's game even added John Deere, something that players would have said was impossible just 3 or 4 years ago. They also have Krone, Case, and the plethora of operations that AGCO owns. At this point, Giants is able to travel to different agricultural expositions as a legitimate operation and show their game off to potential contributors and companies interested in including their product in the game. They finally have enough clout to make these games what they're capable of, and that's why it's the most exciting time to be a FarmSim player. I've been playing these games for over 8 years, and it's incredible to see how much they've grown and improved over time. Giants was able to expand very quickly around the same time I started playing because they moved to mobile devices in 2012 and ported to consoles in 2013. That cycle has remained steady ever since. They typically offer a full PC release every year and a mobile, and now Nintendo Switch release every other year. So 15 is on PC and console, 16 was on mobile, 17 on PC and console, 18 on mobile, and so on and so forth. One reason this works is because it targets 2 different player bases, kids and adults, something Geiger is aware of. He says their biggest audience is definitely kids or parents that play the game with their kids. It's something that you can play with your 3-4-year-old kid with no problem, but we also have a lot of middle-aged farming fans going up to like 60 plus or so. I find it interesting that kids enjoy the game because I highly doubt they have a higher level understanding of the game's economy or how the equipment works. But I also know that tractors are super cool whenever you're a kid, so I'm sure the game is fun for them even if it's just about riding around in a big piece of machinery. It's another part of how the game is able to appeal to myriad gamers of different interests and desires. At the end of the day, it's a game that helps me relax and peacefully expand my land and upgrade my equipment. For kids, it lets them ride a tractor. And for some people, it's even a competitive experience. Giants has looked to expand their reach in other ways in recent years, most notable with an intrepid venture into esports. Last summer, they created the FSL, or Farming Simulator League, which has teams compete in multiplayer competitions for real money. The first prize pool was worth €250,000, not a bad payday to play a video game. Geiger says the idea was to benefit from the esports hype that's been around, getting a lot of marketing value out of it, and also to bring in different people. Because while the non-competitive side of Farming Simulator is cool, it's not for everyone. Some people really just need to have that challenge. They've been able to use their connections and reputation to help them in this new endeavor, securing funding from many of the equipment manufacturers in the game, and they even landed a sponsorship deal from Intel. They're headed to Katowice this year for a big-time tournament that could rival CSGO. Well, no, that's a joke, but it's still impressive what they've been able to do. Giants has grown more in the past decade than most of their peers, and it's been through a lot of hard work, grit, and determination. They recently went free to play on the Epic Games Store, and they're trying to get FarmSim on more platforms than ever before, like Google Stadia, and of course as many mobile devices as possible. It's working too, as the game is growing more rapidly now than it ever has before. FarmSim 19 sold over 1 million copies in its first 10 days after release, and with every release, they sell millions more than their predecessors. Giant CEO Christian Amann is aware of the success and is gracious for their growth. It's incredible to see the impact of the team's hard work. Farming Simulator 19 offers so many new opportunities, and our players are thrilled about them. Never before has a farming simulator game reached the 1 million mark so quickly, and we're proud and happy that so many players join us on this amazing journey. The game's publisher, Focus Home Interactive, is equally excited about the future of the franchise. COO John Burt says they're extremely proud to support Giant Software on the development of the Farming Simulator franchise. Farming Simulator 19 is simply exceptional, and the sales match that. Giants have demonstrated once more the incredible talent of their studio to always reach a large number of players. This also confirms the know-how of the Focus Home Interactive teams in bringing franchises to new and bigger audiences, reinforcing the fantastic work done by the studio for each new game. It's funny to think that this little farming game that I started playing back in 2012 would grow to what it's become today. As it stands now, Farm Sim is definitely in my top 10 favorite games, and it's something I come back to at least a couple of times every year to dump countless hours into. I love Stardew and other farming games, don't get me wrong, but Farm Sim is different, and it's better. Before you laugh about a farming simulator game potentially being one of the best games available today, I'd sincerely encourage you to try it. The amount of modding that goes into the games is incredible, and it has a truly awesome community surrounding it. Seriously, with the amount of mod support that Farm Sim has, nearly anything is possible. There's even hemp farming and crazy mods that allow you to have a tractor that runs over 100 miles per hour, or trailers that hold 1,000,000 liters of whatever crop you're farming. The possibilities are endless, and I look forward to seeing what Giants has in store for us next. Their new studio in Chicago is a promising step towards a bright future, and it excites me for the American fan base. At this point, Farm Sim has sold millions of copies, and it looks like they're only trending upwards from here. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at Giant Software and the history of Farming Simulator. If you did, be sure to share it on Reddit. Every share helps us grow. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.